Raymond's Run is a short story by Toni Cade Bambara, first published in the Black Folks and Redbook magazine in 1971 and a year later in the collection titled Gorilla, My Love. The story is set in Harlem, New York and is from the first-person perspective by Hazel Parker, known as Squeaky, who narrates in a stream-of-consciousness style. Before we summarize the story, it is important to talk about its background. Toni Cade Bambara was heavily involved in civil movements aimed at uplifting the rights of African Americans, women, and minorities. The Black Liberation Movement fought for social equality for African Americans, while the women's movement pushed for gender equality. Though the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s secured legal rights for African Americans, but racial prejudice and inequality persisted. Meanwhile, the 1960s and 1970s women's movement aimed to address lingering barriers to gender equality, even decades after women earned the right to vote in 1920. Black women, however, were often left out of both movements, facing sexism in the Black Liberation Movement and racism in the women's movement. Bambara highlighted these overlooked voices, particularly in her 1970 edited book The Black Woman, an anthology, which featured intersectional writings on race, gender, and politics. Raymond's Run is set in Harlem, that is a historically African American neighborhood in northern Manhattan, New York City. It became a hub for Black culture in the early 20th century during the Great Migration, when many African Americans moved north for better opportunities. Harlem became a cultural center during the Harlem Renaissance, celebrating African American art and pride. However, after the Great Depression and post-World War II deindustrialization, poverty and crime increased in Harlem. This backdrop of struggle and cultural richness sets the stage for Raymond's Run, showcasing the resilience of an urban African American community. Raymond's Run begins with Squeaky, who doesn't have many chores at home, but she takes care of Raymond, her brother, who has an intellectual disability. People in their Harlem neighborhood often make fun of Raymond, but Squeaky always defends him, even if it means fighting back. Since she's a very fast runner, she knows she can always outrun trouble if needed. Squeaky wins every race she enters. This year, a girl named Gretchen has been boasting that she'll beat Squeaky in the May Day race, but Squeaky finds this idea laughable. Squeaky spends her time walking around the neighborhood, practicing for races and doing breathing exercises, usually with Raymond by her side. While Raymond's behavior sometimes causes scenes in public, forcing Squeaky to apologize to annoyed neighbors, she doesn't let it bother her unless it interrupts her training. Squeaky is dedicated to improving her running and dislikes people like her classmate Cynthia, who pretends her academic and musical talents come effortlessly instead of admitting she practices. One day, as Squeaky is walking on Broadway with Raymond, she spots Gretchen and her friends Mary Louise and Rosie coming her way. Mary Louise, who used to be Squeaky's friend, has turned mean since she started hanging out with Gretchen. Rosie is especially unkind to Raymond, which annoys Squeaky because she feels Rosie has no right to judge others. The girls start teasing Squeaky and Raymond, but when Squeaky stands up to them, they back off and leave. At the neighborhood's annual May Day celebration, Squeaky and Raymond arrive late because the races are scheduled for the end of the day. Squeaky's mom always wants her to participate in the May pole dance, but Squeaky isn't interested in wearing fancy outfits or pretending to be something she's not. She remembers feeling silly when she had to dress up as a strawberry for a school play. While her parents were proud, Squeaky just wanted to be herself, a proud Black girl who loved running. After making sure Raymond is settled in a swing, Squeaky goes to collect her lucky race number, 7. Mr. Pearson, the teacher in charge of pinning on race numbers, offends Squeaky by suggesting she let someone else win for a change, like Gretchen. Annoyed, Squeaky stomps away and lies in the grass near the track, wishing she were back in the countryside where her family used to live. When the 50-yard dash begins, Squeaky lines up at the starting line next to Gretchen. She notices Raymond crouched on the other side of the fence, copying the runner's positions, but she decides she's too tired to call out to him. Instead, she focuses on her usual pre-race routine of daydreaming about flying above a beach and smelling apples in an orchard near her old home. When the starting gun fires, Squeaky snaps out of her daydream and focuses on running, shutting out everything else and pushing herself to win. She's surprised to see Gretchen keeping up with her stride for stride and even more startled to notice Raymond running alongside them on the other side of the fence. For a moment, she's tempted to stop and watch her brother's first real attempt at running. Squeaky crosses the finish line, but when she notices that Gretchen also ran past it and hears the loudspeaker cut off mid-announcement of in first place, she's unsure who actually won. Watching Gretchen calmly catch her breath, Squeaky feels a new respect for her and even likes her a little. While Mr. Pearson and the judges argue over the race results, Raymond shakes the fence to grab Squeaky's attention. Then, with surprising skill, he climbs over the fence and runs to her. In that moment, Squeaky realizes how talented Raymond is at running. He's been keeping up with her during practice all along, even copying her breathing exercises. Suddenly, Squeaky doesn't care about the race outcome anymore. She starts to think she might give up competing and focus on coaching Raymond instead. Squeaky also realizes that if she applied herself, she could succeed in other areas, like beating Cynthia in the spelling bee or becoming a skilled piano player. But as she looks at Raymond, she feels it's more important for him to have a chance to shine. She already has a room full of medals, while Raymond has nothing to call his own. As these thoughts excite her, Squeaky begins jumping up and down, thrilled with her new plans for Raymond. The crowd assumes she's celebrating the race results. She's been announced the winner, with Gretchen coming in a close second. Squeaky smiles at Gretchen, recognizing her as a skilled runner who might even help coach Raymond someday. Gretchen returns the smile and nods in congratulations. To Squeaky, this feels like the sincerest smile two girls could share. Especially in a world where many girls are too busy pretending to be things like fairies or strawberries instead of embracing who they are. Now let's thematically analyze Raymond's run by Toni Cade Bambara. At the start of the story, Hazel defines herself mainly as a runner. While she also takes care of her brother Raymond, she focuses more on her own goals and doesn't think much about how he feels about tagging along on her training runs. Hazel is self-assured and competitive and takes pride in her determination and hard work. However, this independence isolates her from other girls, who enjoy activities like dancing around the maypole and pretending to be fairies and flowers. Hazel refuses to pretend, she is unapologetically herself. By the end of the story, Hazel's sense of identity begins to shift. She starts to see Gretchen not just as a rival but as someone she respects and could even connect with. She also notices Raymond's talents for the first time, realizing that he is more than someone she needs to protect. He has his own skills and potential. Instead of viewing life as a competition where she must stand out as the best runner, Hazel starts imagining herself as a coach who can support others and as someone who can form friendships rather than rivalries. Author Toni Cade Bambara created characters like Hazel to showcase a vision of what African American girls could aspire to be. Her involvement in the Black liberation and women's movements shaped her approach to writing strong, self-assured, and rebellious characters. Hazel's rebellion challenges society's expectations for young girls. She rejects the May Day dances, where she'd have to dress up and pretend to be someone she isn't. Instead, she defines herself through her physical strength and training discipline. Bambara presents Hazel as a character meant to inspire other girls to embrace their authentic selves and their potential. Squeaky is determined to win the 50-yard dash at the May Day race, but her competition with Gretchen also highlights her estrangement from traditional femininity and other girls. Unlike her peers, who embrace the May pole dance and other traditionally feminine roles, Squeaky focuses on running and refuses to pretend to be something she's not. Her rejection of societal expectations stems from her strong sense of identity, which she learned early on when she felt foolish dressing as a strawberry in a school pageant. To Squeaky, adhering to such norms means denying her authentic self. Despite her confidence, Squeaky initially follows another norm without question: competition and hostility among women. She frequently mocks other girls and quickly identifies them as rivals rather than friends. This competitive mindset is reflected in her disdain for Cynthia Proctor, who pretends her academic and musical success comes effortlessly, and in her falling out with her former friend Mary Louise. Squeaky's pride in her hard work and achievements often isolates her from her peers. However, Squeaky's attitude begins to shift during the May Day race. While running, she notices her brother Raymond keeping pace on the sidelines and realizes his natural talent. For the first time, she feels genuine pride in him, which eclipses her focus on her own success. This newfound pride sparks a broader transformation in how Squeaky views others. She starts to see Gretchen as more than a rival, recognizing her dedication and skill as a runner. By the end of the story, Squeaky's relationships with others evolve. Her bond with Raymond, rooted in care and encouragement, becomes a model for how she might relate to Gretchen and other women. She envisions coaching Raymond and even considers collaborating with Gretchen to help him succeed. This shift shows Squeaky's growth from a mindset of rivalry to one of connection and support. Squeaky dedicates her free time to practicing breathing exercises to prepare for the May Day race, reflecting her strong work ethic and determination to succeed. The race itself symbolizes her drive for success and the challenges of balancing her passion for running with her responsibility of caring for Raymond. During the race, Squeaky's perspective shifts when she notices Raymond running alongside her on the sidelines. For the first time, she sees his natural talent for running and recognizes his potential to succeed, making her feel deeply proud of him, so much so that it surpasses her focus on her own victory. Squeaky also gains a new respect for her rival, Gretchen, whom she recognizes as a dedicated and serious runner, just like herself. The May Day race becomes a turning point for Squeaky as she evolves from a place of pride and arrogance to a deeper, more mature understanding of her relationships. Through the race, she transforms her pride in her own achievements into pride in her family's shared talent and begins to see Gretchen and Raymond in a new light. This moment signifies her growth and a redefinition of her identity and her connection to others. Hope you like, subscribe and comment for more videos.